Are microgreens profitable? Yes, but maybe not in the way you've been told. Let me explain. So when most people talk about microgreens, they're actually talking about gross profit, which is actually the difference between the revenue that you generate for each additional unit sold minus the cost of goods, which is the materials and labor that are required to actually produce that unit. So yes, microgreens are profitable on a gross profit scale, but in all honesty, having high gross profit is really just the ticket to entry for any manufacturing business. So it's not really anything that's special to microgreens. It's just really just the fundamentals. The one key difference here, though, that might be different from other farming is that there is labor leverage with microgreens. You don't have to have quite as much labor to produce the same amount of revenue, the same amount of time to produce, or as much time to produce the same amount of revenue. So there is leverage compared to farming. But again, having high gross profit margins is just kind of the ticket to entry. So nothing special there. What most people neglect to talk about when they say profitability or that microgreens are profitable is net profit. So this is the actual money that you're going to take home. So this is everything after rent, utilities, labor, HR, payroll, all that extra stuff, the costs of doing business or operating expenses. That's the money left in your pocket at the end of the year, and that is your true profit or your net profit. So this is going to be what you pay yourself, what you have as distributions, or even what you reinvest or keep in the company to grow it or de-risk a little bit. So net profit is really the number that you want to focus on, and no one really talks about. Everyone talks about revenue. So again, kind of the key difference here too is that gross profit is kind of the basic key to entry, but it doesn't really tell you if your market is big enough or if it has demand to purchase additional units. And I think that's the biggest thing that gets people stuck into not achieving the numbers they were promised for microgreens, that they don't have realistic expectations for what their market can actually handle, the amount of work it takes to constantly advertise and promote your business so that you create demand to sell additional units. So again, microgreens are profitable on a fundamental gross profit. But again, net profit is up to you and how successfully you can run your business and grow your business. As a benchmark too, 80% gross profit margin is ideally what we would want for microgreens. So that means you're not spending more than 20% on seeds, soil, packaging, and direct production labor to produce additional units. And then for net profits, the largest farms that I know that have started, somebody in their house starting a farm, growing it to $750,000 to $1 million a year. At best, they're looking at 30. If they're really good, 40% net margins. So on $1 million business, you're looking at 300 to 400,000 that's going back into the business to be reinvested or as owner distributions and salaries. And then you also have, by comparison, red light. By comparison, if you are starting a farm in your house, you don't have rent, you don't have employees, your net profit margin is going to be higher as you're going to be able to keep it because really your only expenses is the cost of goods or the production cost. So if you're in your home, you should be able to keep it at about 60, 70% gross profit margin. However, you're going to be capped at the amount of space you have and the amount of revenue you can do in that space. So your total net amount that you're going to make is going to be less than if you made more and kept less of it.